Welcome back to the 2 Months Podcast presented by Shatified Salon and Barbershop. I am your host, Joshua Marshall, and my co-host this evening is Clay Vanderham. Vandy, how's it going?
Dandy is dandy. Play La Bamba, baby.
There you go. There you go. And
In a
we have a
couple
very,
days, so yeah.
yeah, no, exactly. And our very special guest this evening, and we'll break the series down with him and some much more things to kind of go over. He has the third best podcast out there right now. You got Spit and Chicklets, number one, Elliot.
Well, some would debate third best, but
Yeah,
that's
well, it's number three right now on the chart, Stoff.
Are we
So,
two?
number three, yeah, he's sitting in the third position, and he is the color analyst for the Edmonton Oilers. You can find him on Oilers Now between 4 and 7 p.m. on non-game days and a little bit earlier on the game days. This is Bob Stauffer. Stoff, how's it going?
not bad. Our show is available over the air as well, so I'm flattered to find that as many people end up downloading the show as they do. There's going to be conversation points that not everybody agrees with. You got to be able to roll with that. And what a run it's been. It's been, I think back to being an 80s kid growing up in Edmonton and watching the greatest collection and cavalcade of stars we've ever seen in NHL history, 7 future Hall of Famers and 5 Stanley Cups in the 7 years. And you kind of took it for granted. And knowing how hard it is, '06 was obviously a wonderful run, but this team's been building to put themselves in a position to win a Stanley Cup the last few years. We've got a couple, the best 1-2 offensive tandem in the league. It's been awesome just to be on the periphery and to have the privilege of following the team around on a day-to-day basis. So we're in South Florida. It's going to be a kicker, let me tell you.
Yeah. Before we kind of jump into everything, Jeff O'Neill, Brian Hayes, and Jamie Nunos McLennan wanted me to ask you how your elbow is because you had an elbow drop from Twitter today.
Oh, yeah.
Toronto Maple Leaf fans, to expense of them. But can you elaborate on the tweet that you had earlier this afternoon?
Here's the thing. In a perfect world, Toronto would have been playing Edmonton in the Stanley Cup final for me. Okay? That would have been the best case scenario. That unfortunately did not come to fruition. And the numbers don't lie. The numbers were the numbers. And the tweet basically said Zach Hyman has scored 28 goals in 44 games as an Oiler, or 28 goals in 46 games as an Oiler in the playoffs. And the core four for the Leafs, they've got 34 between 95 games between them. And it wasn't meant directly as a shot at the Toronto fan base. What I would say, Josh, is when Hyman signed here, there was a lot of criticism out of Toronto for the deal that the Oilers have did. And I think it's got to be stated that Hyman has far exceeded the expectations that came with it. I know everybody wants to denigrate Mike Babcock, and Mike has made some mistakes along the way, but he was right on Zach Hyman. He knew that Hyman was a real player with the requisite work ethic, and he's continued to improve. He's worked at his craft. He's an unbelievable teammate. And contrary to the opinions of some people in the center of the hockey universe, the signing has worked out quite well. I think a strong argument can be made. Zach Hyman signing with Edmonton has been the second best free agent signing in NHL history. The only one to this point that was better, because it resulted in a identity and cultural change for an entire organization, is when the Boston Bruins signed Zdeno Chara, and the longevity that he had. So, I 2 weeks earlier, I tweeted out that the Oilers, I think, got 3 of the top 4 goal scorers the last 3 years in the playoffs. This is the 9th playoff series for Edmonton in the last 3 years. Only Florida's played more. And frankly, we're lucky to watch it. And the margins are tight. And you can even make an argument that the margins have worked against Toronto in a couple of those series. But the reality of the situation is Edmonton has now 6 playoff series wins in the last 3 years. And now they have their stiffest challenge coming with the Florida Panthers in the Stanley Cup Finals. So it was more a tweet to support Hyman and just illustrate, like, you got 4 great players in Toronto. It's hard to score.
Yeah.
And this guy has produced. And that's kind of, and I do have some, you and me have talked about this privately. I do have some empathy for the Toronto market. I know how much their fans care and how passionate they are about the Leafs. And I certainly, I can't imagine what it'd be like to be in Calgary. Like, they hate Edmonton. Edmonton takes all of the oxygen out of the room in the province of Alberta when it comes to hockey. Look no further than Twitter, where you have Gene Principe and Mark Spector,
Nikita
Jason
Zadorov said it in the exit meeting at the end of the year for the Canucks. Like
Jason Gregor, myself, and Ryan Rishaug are all north of like 90,000 followers on Twitter.
Yep.
And Jack Michaels hardly tweets, and he's got 50 or 60,000, and they don't, like, the guys in Calgary are dwarfed by those numbers. And it's not because we're infinitely better or anything like that. It's just the for two markets, the passion in oil country for the team just dwarfs that the provincial rival. And so the Flames are sitting there watching an Edmonton team that's won 5 cups in their past, that just won the most recent incarnation of the Battle of Alberta. And oh, by the way, 2 of Florida's most important players are Matthew Tkachuk and Sam Bennett. One guy who didn't want to be there, and one guy who maybe wasn't living up to the potential in the eyes of some in Calgary, though he always played great against Edmonton, in Sam Bennett. So
yeah,
I get it. I get where, and I know Vancouver, and we might talk a bit about that, but there was a lot of stuff in that Vancouver-Edmonton series. But the Oilers hit the home run when they got Hyman, and that's the point that I was making.
Yeah. And I'm a Leaf fan, and I have my credentials is for our podcast is through the Calgary Flames. So, we have a media pass through the Flames, and, obviously the Oilers have been great to us, letting us bring minor hockey kids into to the rink throughout the year. And obviously that'll stop because the NHL takes over the arena as that is. But, thanks to Andrew Pierre at the Oilers organization and with the PR team there. And, even Ryan Rishaug talked about on his podcast, like this regime of, and I know you and I've talked about Jamie Cartmell in the past.
Done a great job. A great job.
Hell of a job, right? And I think last year they won the NHL award for.
They've won it 2 of the last 4 years. They just announced it today, and I mean that's the one thing. Dallas has got a lot of class as an organization.
Yep.
I generally try to limit. Like, I put a tweet out today on D-Day because people need to know a little about our history. Like, people gave their souls, or literally, for our rights and freedoms. Mm-hmm. And I hope people don't. We have so much stuff that we get influenced by today, and sometimes you do have to have an appreciation for history, what other people sacrificed so you could have the liberty and freedom that you have. So I put a tweet out on that. But generally speaking, I try to avoid confrontation on Twitter, and it was more a tweet. I understand, why there would be some consternation. Frankly, it's a little bit flattering that those guys talked about it, even if it wasn't necessarily in the most positive light.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, that comes with the territory. You got to be able to handle that stuff. You got to have a thick skin. It's just like, you guys, when there's a couple guys out there every game, they send like a joke picture of me or a made up thing. You got to roll with that stuff and have some fun with it, embrace it, instead of just, you got to show that you're willing to be self-deprecating and you've got some humility.
Yeah. Just on that before, and I'll toss over to Vandy to get the series preview start. But obviously you're kind of hinting or a little bit talking about in terms of what Luke Gazdic said on a podcast here in Edmonton, and obviously Rick Dollywall and others in Sakaris and Price in Vancouver kind of took personal shots, or they took it a little bit personal. And obviously Elliot Friedman did a good job sticking up for his teammate in Luke Gazdic about his comments. But Luke's been on our podcast before, but in this situation, I know you've talked about even yesterday on Oilers Now, talking about this Vancouver Canucks. They've never won, and they always talk about our Stanley Cup years. It's like, well, you didn't win. You got it, like you said yesterday on Oilers Now. They've gone to the Cup final 3 times in a row. But just finding that balance where you're not crossing. Well, I tweeted something out yesterday, and I
didn't even say anything bad.
Me, my tweet?
No,
I don't think so. But. Yeah.
It wasn't even malicious or anything. Like,
we just talked about a tweet recognizing D-Day and people fighting for people's rights and freedoms.
Yeah,
like I was on Spit and Chicklets the day after Ryan Whitney used a combination of phrases that George Carlin said you couldn't say on TV about 30 or 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And the term I would use, and it's a euphemism, and George Carlin, who's arguably the greatest comedian of all time, and I did meet Robin Williams, by the way, that, at the Desert Fashion Place Plaza in Palm Desert, 1987. It was a great night.
I bet.
Yeah, it was. He was there back-to-back Fridays. But anyhow, I was on with those guys, and you got two passionate fan bases, and maybe it's a euphemism, but they got a lot of passion.
Mhm.
And sometimes when fan bases have passion, you're going to get extremes, and you just got to roll with it, right? Like you can't, you know, it was actually Bruce Dobigan who's got a book out on trades, blockbuster trades in the NHL. He was on my show, and he talked about, Calgary has always got 89, Edmonton's got 84, 85, 87, 88, 90. I was in Prince George in 94 when the Canucks lost game 7. People were driving around honking. My whole crew was cheering for the Rangers because there were 7 former Oilers on the Rangers, and so I can appreciate their exasperation and frustration. Now, they shouldn't be frustrated with what they accomplished this year. Tocchet had an unreal year. They took the Oilers to 7. I know they had a 3-2 lead in the series, but I think Edmonton had a better team than Vancouver. The Canucks were right there with them. But, this season in Vancouver, to me, under Rick Tocchet, was a bit like the Oilers season back in 16-17 under Todd McLellan. Like,
Yeah.
That was a pretty good run.
Yep.
You went 7 games. The only difference is they lost game 7 at home. And they did it with their third string goalie. So Luke said what he said. Luke's a big boy. He can handle it. People are going to get upset. It's like a tweet. Once in a while, if you're too pointed with your tweet, you're going to get feedback. And if you do the crime, you got to deal with it, or you got to deal with the time once in a while, and deal that there might be shots back the other way. I mean,
part of the business, right?
well, we ask players to have thick skin and to answer questions after they make mistakes, and to deal with criticism. And I know this as a show host. When the Edmonton Oilers were pushing for an arena deal, Josh and Clay, like the team was not very good. They were like 28th to 30th during that 3-year window when they were pushing for the arena deal. And I was on air basically saying, like, this has to be happening for the longevity of the Oilers organization. And not everybody agreed with me, and often used terms that were quite impolite and not very comfortable to be seen via text line. And you know what? You got to have broad shoulders when that happens. And because at the end of the day, there's lots of guys that wish they were doing what I was doing. I got 6 or 7 buddies that make 3 to 4 times what I make in a year, and they trade jobs tomorrow. And I never lose sight of that.
Yeah. Vandy, toss it over to you to preview this series. Your first question for Staff.
Oh, caught me off guard here. I thought
well said by Bob. I agree. Like that.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like stuff like that.
Before we jump in.
I think I've listened to, numerous. I was listening to you last night while the kid was playing lacrosse, and I was in the car waiting for the game to start, and I've been listening to everybody else as well, and I don't think the Oilers are getting enough respect right now. And the whole thing goes back to, well, we got late starts in the West, and I don't think the East has seen a lot of the Oilers. And then I've heard comments about, the last time these two teams played each other. Well, that was December, and that was like this is a different team. I'm gonna be probably the first one to say I did not expect this. Like when the Oil did what they did against Dallas, I did not expect any of this. I didn't think the Oil had it, and look at where they are and what they're doing. I think before we get into the preview, what I want to know is, and I've been around the game a long time, and good teams, I think we take for granted. I do. I'm not going to say we. I do. How good Connor is, Leon is, and then there's the rest. You know what I mean? And I think what them beating Dallas did to me was open my eyes and go, holy, maybe we got a pretty good team here. But when you watch them day in, day out, and you're constantly reading media, local media, and you're just like, oh my God, can they do it? Are they going to do it? Blah blah. I think where I'm at is how tight is this team? This team's got to be, like, you're around them, Bob, and without getting into details,
I am around them, but I'm not in the room with them.
Right. And I don't ever want to, like, as a hockey fan. I like the inside stuff, but I don't ever want to know what goes on in the room.
Well,
But
all
you
right.
see them outside of the rink, congregate, whatever hotel, wherever they are. How tight is this team?
Well, first of all, as you know, we leave them alone when
right. I get
right,
that, but
right.
visually,
Here's what I would say. From November 12th, they've been the best team in the league.
right.
Chris Knobloch has the best record between the NHL regular season and playoffs of any coach in the league. He's got the highest points percentage. They got the best record in the league. That includes 2 losses against Florida, in which they started their backup goalie in both games.
Correct.
Calvin Pickard got those starts, right? So, toughest road trip of the year to go Tampa, Florida, Carolina. At that point, Washington was going good. And Chris said to us before the game against Washington, I think we're starting to grasp it here. I got a good feel about today. And the Oilers owned Washington 5-0 in that game. And then that started an 8-game winning streak. And then Florida was part of the 3-game losing streak during a stretch in which Edmonton went 24-3. I think the Dallas series, Clay, I think you bring up a valid point. A lot of people had Dallas as the favorite. Everybody said they had greater depth and better goaltending. Ottinger is a really good goalie. He played at a 908.
Right.
Skinner was at 922.
Uh-huh.
The Oilers survived a game in which they were outshot 35-10. They can win different ways now. Their penalty killing was unreal. They've had 2 series where they haven't given up a goal while they've been shorthanded. They outscored Dallas by 5 goals on special teams in that series. And frankly, after the 2-0 start for Dallas in game 4, down 2-1 in the first in the series and down 2-0 in the first 5.5 minutes, I was nervous. I'm not going to lie to you. And then Edmonton outscored Dallas 10-2 the rest of the way. They just they seem to be able to recalibrate.
And
they are deeper. I mean, Matt Duchene said we have 3 number 1 lines in Dallas. Yeah. Well, he was on a line with Pavelski, and neither guy scored in the series.
Right.
And the Oilers got goals from 16 different players that scored in the playoffs by the end of that series for Edmonton, and 16 different players that scored in the playoffs for Dallas. The difference is Edmonton's got the top 4 scorers in the entire league. So I think the Oilers are probably deeper than people think. Skinner is coming along. I wouldn't say he's emerged the way Bouchard has in the fence, but he's showing signs of becoming a guy that can play under pressure and rebound after a tough start or a tough period. They got a pretty good team, and that's why they got a puncher's chance to beat Florida for sure. I know most of the pundits do have Florida favored. And guys like Elliot Friedman and Frank Saravelli and Jamie McLennan, I know those guys are up watching the Oilers games. You know why? And Al May's another. You know why? Because I hear from those guys.
Yeah.
During our games when we're playing the late start. So I know they're watching. The best guys, and think of the craft too, like a writer that has to file a post-game story on the Maple Leafs. That's what he's doing. He's writing that story. He's not watching the late game. He's got to get his story posted so he can get it up on the website for post media or on the whatever, right? So, I heard PK Subban talking about the Oilers. They weren't a great defensive team, and all of that would have been true until Knobloch took over as coach. They were the 5th best defensive team in the league during the regular season after Chris took over. Now, the one thing I will say is frankly, I think Edmonton's got more game to give 5-on-5. Their expected goals for 5-on-5, goals for percentage expected has been poor in the playoffs compared. It was the best in the league in the regular season. I actually think Edmonton's got another. Now that happens when you get dominated in game 4 in LA and get outplayed in game 1 for 25 minutes when Draisaitl was out for half of that in game 1, and then outplayed in game 5 and then game 6 against Dallas. The numbers skew and work against you. You're also playing better competition.
Yeah, it's going to be a fascinating matchup. Even talking to some people today, it's like, it wouldn't be surprised or there's 1-4 or there's 1-7. Wouldn't be surprised.
I'd be surprised if Edmonton 1-4. Yeah. And I'd be surprised if Florida 1-4.
Yeah. I know there's one, I think, Pierre LeBrun was doing an interview, and he said one NHL general manager said that he thinks Florida will win in 5. He polled It was
33.
29 of the 33 took,
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I was getting at. I'm not very good at articulating.
So it's
That's
just
what
like,
I was getting at.
it is interesting. Like his article was pretty interesting in that. And, but again, a lot of it, like you're right. Like I know Noodles will stay up. Noodles will do a game in Ottawa.
I know that.
At 7 o'clock, and he'll watch the Oilers games.
Craig Simpson's another. He's watching the late games as well. There's lots of guys that do.
Correct.
Sometimes past reputation is difficult to shake.
Right.
Like Rogers, Rexall Place didn't have great ice in the last 3 or 4 years, but at the player poll always had Rexall ice ranked in the top 3 or 4 arenas for ice. Now Rogers Place, it's got really good ice. The Bell Center and Rogers Place have the best ice in the league, and ice matters to me.
Yeah.
Plays a factor on power plays. Correct. Edmonton's power play at home is dramatically better on the road. For me, part of it is the ice conditions. The Oilers simplified in Game 5 in Dallas and struck for 2. They put pucks on the net, and Nugent Hopkins gets a rebound, and then they cross Dallas up in the second power play goal. Dallas over pursued to take away the drop and delay to McDavid on the zone entry, and then Draisaitl thread the needle, and Nuge ripped one home on a great backhand pass from Leon. So, past reputation. Edmonton's always had great ice. Well, not in the final couple of years at Rexall Place. Edmonton's a poor defensive team. Well, not since Chris Knobloch's coached the team.
Yeah. Matty Ruptash, Andy, he's a part of that.
We ain't giving Matty any credit on that. I'll give Weedy.
Yeah, Weedy.
He was a Zamboni driver there for a bit, but
he was. Was beauty. Go ahead, Vandy.
No, it was. What fascinates me is the more I look at it, and when the shock for me wore off, like holy shit, we're in the Stanley Cup final. And then you start reading the sideline or the side stories, and you hear about George Mumford, and that name come in, and for me, I look, and again, I'm going to bring it up again, is how close and tight, and how these guys understand that you got to go to war, you got to go to bat for each other, and then you hear of, and we do some work with mind buffs we've done with the sports psychology and how important that is, even at a young athlete, and how important it is even for these guys. Are you familiar with what
George? I've talked to George a lot. I mean, I can tell you that going back into 2003, 2004, I'd have these conversations with Kevin Lowe on the importance of having a sports psychologist or a variation of a life coach. And George is an incredible story. Like his college roommate was Julius Erving.
Yeah.
He's worked with Kobe Bryant. Like and George is a Jeff Jackson guy. Like Jeff played a massive factor in the Oilers. Jeff knew Chris Knobloch in terms of how he coached as well as anybody, because Jeff had Connor in Erie, but he also ended up getting Connor Brown, and he ended up getting Alex DeBrincat, and he ended up getting Darren Radish, and those guys weren't supposed to be, NHL players that
Curtis
made
McDermott too, right?
So. Right. So he had a bunch of these guys that Chris developed. So he, and so Jeff's put the move to bring in Rick Precy. That was Jeff Jackson as well as head amateur scout. So, there's little things that have occurred here. Florida's a really well-run team under Bill Zito.
Right.
They've not been afraid to make blockbuster. They traded away 3 number ones in a row. They traded away a number one when they got Giroux, and then number 1 to get Sherratt, both for the 2022 playoff run. They got knocked out in round 2 that year by Tampa. And then in that offseason, they did the Tkachuk trade and gave away another number 1, right? So they've made some ballsy moves. And as a result, they got a heck of a team and a heavy physical team with a really good forecheck that Edmonton's going to have to beat.
When Alexander Petrovic was in Florida, I had the privilege of being around these guys a bit, like the Barkovs and even Kulikov, and that some of the guys that are kind of still there, Aaron Ekblad. And one thing I'll say about Barkov is he's like the Mark Giordano of the regular season. Once game 1 of the 82 game schedule starts, there's no alcohol and there's no bad food going into a system. Like there's no, like he'll go out for team dinners, but any parties and stuff like that, this guy is all dialed in. He's a professional through and through.
He wouldn't last very long as a broadcaster, I'll tell you that.
He definitely would not. As as Frank Seravalli said, the credit card is going on the LTIR during these playoffs, right? So
In about 10 minutes, to be honest with you.
exactly, yeah. But but yeah, just a quick, I want to get two more before I let you go here, Bob. But just a quick rip on obviously what Florida does. That is going to be a challenge for the Oilers. They're obviously a good hockey team. They're a good forechecking team. I know a lot. A friend of our podcast, and Phil Stockley, thinks that this Oilers team will actually have a really tough time against Florida because he felt that they had a really tough time when they played the Canucks because the hard forechecking and the physicalness part. And I know the Oilers can bite back with that too. They have the weapons in their lineup to do that. But is there? I know, and Vandy talked about earlier, maybe the Oilers are getting enough credit. And I'm not saying the Florida Panthers are getting overcredited here, but they are a good hockey team. They've been there before. Does anything speak to them being there last year pose any kind of challenge for the Oilers?
Well, I think it has to help a little because they're used to the pomp and pageantry of the moment. They were not healthy last year. They got a much healthier team this year. They hit and they arrive with a poor attitude, right? Like they're not an easy group to play against. I do think there's going to be an adjustment for the Oilers. I know Paul Coffey, who coaches their D, is well aware of the fact, like, you got to make plays under duress against this team. They're not going to sit back the way LA sat back in that. I don't even think it was a 1-3-1. It was almost like a 1-1-3 in the neutral zone. Right? Like there might be more chances off the rush for Edmonton, but there's a chance they'll be hemmed in for greater time frames. I think Florida's power play is going to be the best power play Edmonton's seen, and their penalty killing is the second best in the league in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I got a lot of, and I got a goaltender, Bobrovsky, who's had a couple great runs here. They're, like I said, they got a good team. The Oilers are a team. They're not just McDavid and Draisaitl. They've built a lot of pieces around the team. It's very different looking today. Ken Holland's in his 5th year as GM here. They've gone from 23rd and 25th place to having the 7th best record in the league over the last 5 seasons. I know they were 9th in points percentage overall, but they were first in the last 70 games of the year. So I think that Oilers should be confident to know that they're going to be competitive in this series, and it's going to be which team simply makes more plays.
Yeah. Van, do you have one more? I guess one before we sign them out, but you got one more?
No, you just nailed it. Confidence. I think the confidence that this team will have heading into, they've read the headlines about Dallas and how they dismantled them. I think heading in.
Oh, Vandy, it was a 6-game series. Like a dismantling.
I get it, not dismantling.
A dismantling is a 4 or 5 games.
The last 3 or 4. The last 3 games, let's say.
Yeah, and really, Game 4 and Game 5 was vastly different than Game 6.
Right.
Like they withstood the charge in Game 6.
And still, Skinner, yeah.
And you asked me about the fans earlier. I sensed a calm over the fans in Game 6 and not a nervousness.
Really?
An anticipation. And it made me wonder whether or not because of how Edmonton won in Game 4 and really how they won in Game 5, and then the final 40 minutes of Game 4, it made me wonder whether or not there was confidence building, not arrogance, but confidence. Hey, these guys can do this from the fan base, because that's how I interpreted how people were when they arrived in the building that night.
Yeah. I just remember James Duthie telling me the other day, he's like, when the Oilers, when McDavid and Draisaitl start sniffing a Stanley Cup in terms of, winning a game or two in the conference final, which is, the Western Conference final, that they're not going to be denied. So this is, it's a foregone conclusion that these guys will win. And obviously, TSN has had very, their personalities talking about winning and, cheering and rooting for the Connor McDavid's legacy in this. He needs this cup, I think. So it's going to be hard to deny the best player in the world in that. So I think it'll be.
Well, they're playing a real good team. I'm going to be intrigued to see the Tkachuk factor.
Yeah.
Because he went pretty quiet against Edmonton. It turned out, I think we all know he was dealing with a hand issue in that series after getting a Hattie in Game 1.
He's more mature now, though, right? Does he go back at Kane like he did before? Probably not. I'm not saying
he doesn't.
Well,
and not, like, Kane's not healthy either.
I worry about Bennett. I don't even worry about Tkachuk.
Yeah.
Like,
Bob said that yesterday on Oilers Now, like Sam Bennett plays a shift or a fight, like it's his last shift or its last fight.
right.
Like
Since he there, you know what, Matthew Tkachuk is very calculating, always has been. To his credit, he took on a lot of guys that were willing to go, and he eventually did take on Cassian. Like he knew he had to do it. You know, sometimes you just got to do it. He did it, and that was over.
He's a gamer. Kachuk's a gamer.
But Bennett fights like he's never going to eat again if he doesn't fight. Like when he fights, you better be ready to go. Like he did great against Nurse. Like he's given away 6 inches in height and 20 pounds in weight, and he hung in. That's after he blasted Nurse with an open ice hit. So he's around it. They've got skill. They got a great two-way centerman. They're deeper on defense, in my opinion, than Dallas was. They're gonna. I minor little thing, and it might sound stupid after game 2. If I'm the Oilers, I don't know if I mind starting up on the road. I think that it might actually work to their advantage.
Yeah.
There, you've got, I'd have to think for a lot of the players, there's a lot of family and friends in around the players at this time. And you want to be able to focus. And I think it's easier to focus on the road.
Yeah. Are you guys doing your predictions on Oilers Now tomorrow with the panel kind of guys? Like,
yeah, I'm not going to be. I think it'll be a 6 and 7 game series, one of the two. How's that? I'm not going to say who's going to win.
No, I was going to leave it for Oilers Now. Yeah,
yeah. Like you know what, I respected every team that Edmonton's faced, and I meant what I said, Josh. In a perfect world, it would have been Toronto because it would have been awesome for Canada.
Yeah, it's
too bad it didn't happen. And I recognize how close it was against Vancouver. It was close. They could have won that series with a couple breaks. So, you know, when the Oilers beat Calgary in 5, they were just better. And to think that Edmonton rebounded after game 1, it's testament to them. They were better than LA. The Vancouver series was really tight. Dallas, yeah, Edmonton got to a level, I think, in games 4 and 5 that Dallas couldn't get to, but that was still tight. And I expect this one to be 6 or 7 games either way.
Yeah. Shaddy would be mad at me if I didn't ask, but he wants to know how the hair is and how is that for you.
Number one, I'm glad I have hair because I'm fat, and if I was fat and bald, that would be a really poor combination. So Shaddy didn't have a lot to work with that day, Josh, but thank you for hooking me up. I thought he did a terrific job, and he made me look about 6 years younger than I really am.
Yeah, I'm sure you got a lot of good compliments too. So
you're
a stud. So
no one would mistake me for a stud, but you two young guys, you got a few years on me there, so make them count.
Yeah. Thanks, Stauffer, for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Bobby. Enjoy it. Enjoy the ride, buddy.
Enjoy it,
Clay.
You deserve.
You guys have a good night. All right.
Take care.
See you guys too.
Yeah.
Take care, pal.
Thanks to Bob Stauffer from the Edmonton Oilers for joining us. That was a good preview, a good breakdown. It's going to be fun. We got to enjoy it. The weather's good. It sucks with the day break when they get back to here. Obviously, when the series starts, it's game day off. But obviously when they travel back to Edmonton, it's a 2-day break. And I'm assuming I should ask Stauffer. I'm assuming with that much travel, they would probably have to stop to refill up again, I guess. Maybe, I don't know, but that's quite the distance that they're going. But how excited are you for this? This is 8 years ago.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I was pissed. I didn't get to see. We watched the first period, so I was flying home from Quebec with Nicole, and we were booked our tickets, blah blah blah, and we're all pumped to get Wi-Fi, watch Sportsnet. Everybody was watching it on their phone as they're boarding.
Yeah.
And we get on the fucking plane and no Wi-Fi.
Oh no.
And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? So whatever, it's Air Canada. Fucking they got those new Max 8s or whatever. So apparently they don't have Wi-Fi. I'm like, come on, that's bullshit. Then how the anyway, whatever. We're excited. It's kind of you can just tell it's kind of a lull. It was interesting to hear because I would have loved to been watching the game and kind of, even we were in Quebec for the Friday, and it was still we were at a work function, so you really didn't get a feeling for even the crowd, or like we were watching a mute on our phone. So you don't really get a sense. It was interesting to hear Bob say that he noticed there was a sense of calmness
in the
amongst the
crowd.
fans. And I kind of get that too. I kind of get that feeling that that the belief in this team is a lot more like than it's been in the past. So it's good. I what I was trying to get at with Bob, and I think I ramble on, and that's my fault. But is I think how tight this group is, and how you think back to Skinner Pickard and the adversity those two, he goes through. Pickard didn't want to come out of there. He wanted the net for the rest of the series.
Yeah,
And
100%.
then he gets, Skinner gets the net back, and then you go on and on and on, and then you got Nurse, this, that, the, and then you
Connor
got Connor who
Brown,
says, "I'll take this,"
yeah,
and Connor, it just goes to show you how tight. Yeah, okay, maybe they all don't like each other, and they're maturing and growing up as adults, young adults. Yeah, they don't like each other, but you goddamn right, they're gonna go to the wall for each other, and that's what I think you're seeing
yeah.
with
And
this
I think
team
that's what,
is
like, I think it's fitting in a way because, like, the way you look at the whole how the whole season played out, obviously you eliminate the Oilers 2-9-1 start with under Woodcroft and all that. Ekholm wasn't healthy, McDavid wasn't healthy, Campbell couldn't make a save, and Skinner couldn't make a save, and Campbell
well, yeah, but
Campbell looked good in
you don't get
preseason.
saves when you're just that's when you're struggling,
Yeah.
everything's going wrong,
Yeah, and then
right?
see the change, and it's interesting to know, like Chris Knobloch interviewed as an assistant coach in the 2015 draft with Paul Maurice. He didn't get it. At a point, he interviewed for the head coaching job in Grand Rapids, and Ken Holland was the GM of Detroit at that time, and Todd Nelson got the job. So it's like like there's been some adversity on Knobloch here in terms of like interviewing for jobs but not getting them, but not crying about those opportunities because he went back and learned and got better, and and obviously the success that he's at now is pretty cool. I always there's that conversation where it's like, oh, they're a rookie head coach and a rookie this and a rookie that. It's just like he's not really a rookie. Like, I guess he's a rookie at this level, but at the end of the day, it's not like he forgot how to coach. It's not like he ever, once he got to the NHL, he didn't never know how to coach before.
No,
It's
I mean, to
all
me,
listed off the
it's
guys that he turned pro with him, right? And I think that says
right.
a lot. And Paul Maurice too is like very well good, is a very good coach too, and just had enough in Winnipeg. And then the Florida market took heat when they let Andrew Burnett go, and it was like, oh my god, like he took this team in and did a good job after Joel Quenneville left and all that. So it's tough. It's the end of the day it's everyone's opinion. I know people who are going at PK Subban. I personally think PK Subban knows the Oilers are good. I think it's just somewhat of his job to be opinionated, to come up with something that might not fit well with
I think it's a yin yang thing with him and Messier.
and it
If
could
you
be,
want my
yeah,
opinion, I've watched a lot of their broadcasts
yeah,
um, through over the year, and I think it's a yin yang. I think PK's trying to find his
his place
shtick,
in the
if
in the
you
media
will.
side of it, right?
Like you look at Bieksa and Gazdik on Sportsnet, and it's almost like it comes natural to those guys, and they're given Bieksa and a lot more rope than they would
Yeah,
normally,
yeah.
if you
And I want
will.
to
But
touch on that Gazdick thing with you too. So we can before we sign out. I know Bob gave it some time there, but I have my opinion on it. Like we
well,
can,
let's hear it.
yeah, like and I agree. Maybe it's not as bad as what maybe some are taking it as, or that, but I think what the problem is we're so used to like Hockey Night Canada more, and this has been a change for a while. This is just my opinion. Like, this is totally just my opinion only. It's not like I've asked other people and taken theirs, but
Hmm.
I think when Hockey Night in Canada, during the Don Cherry era and stuff like that, like I know, Donnie and Dolly also said too, like, we haven't really ever seen this before. And then they kind of stopped and said, well, Don Cherry was always supportive of his Bruins, and, being from Kingston, probably a Leaf fan too. So maybe that bias was there. But over the years with Sportsnet and Hockey Night Canada, like they were always when they had the national rights, they always separated the national guys from the regional guys, and you never really had the crossover. So when you had like Hockey Night Canada games on Saturday nights, it was like, okay, Jim Houston or whatever, he only did that game, and
Jim Houston,
Jim Houston or Chris Cuffert when he was on the late games, like, but you never saw like Chris Cuffert doing all the Leaf regional games. You never Craig Simpson. It was just that. So I think there's been a change here. I don't think we're talking about enough. Like, so Luke Gazdic obviously will do a lot of Oilers games during the regional side. So he'll do the Sportsnet games, and he'll be in Toronto, and he'll, the intermission, they'll break to him and Carolyn Cameron or David Amber, and he's a former Oiler. But Kevin Bieksa doesn't do that, right? Kevin Bieksa is out in California, flies in on Fridays, does hockey kind of thing, flies home. So, but my thing is like, and I can only speak to my personal experience being in the Calgary Flames media booth this year as getting our pass for our podcast. Like, we do cheer for the team that we're covering. It's natural. Like, and I, that's just my opinion. Like, when you're a regional guy or whatever, and you cover that team 82 games a year plus playoffs,
right?
It's a natural thing to be a homer.
It's human nature, dude.
It is human nature. So
yeah, we're doing a job, and like Spec writes shit and gets flack for it. You don't tell me Spec isn't the first guy that wants.
He wants them to win, and
he wants them to win.
Like, and Gregor has season tickets with the Oilers and stuff like that. Like, and I know maybe they get a little bit mad. Like, and I've had this with our media here in Edmonton. It's just like, I'm not a fan. They keep telling me I'm not a fan, and I'm not trying to be rude to them. Like, I don't believe it. And it's just it. Like, you cover the team all year long. You've covered this team for 10 plus years, some 20 years, some 15 years, whatever. It's a natural ability to be to somewhat quote unquote be a homer. So, like Luke Gazdic, like, he had one bad moment. Like, and that's what Elliot.
It's not even a bad moment, man. Well, he spoke his mind.
And he did. He's very allowed to speak his mind. Like,
and Gazdic to me is one of the best guys on that.
Yeah,
I like Bieksa too, but Gazdic, how he's breaking down the game, I'm like, fuck, this guy gave punches for a living, right?
And I agree.
It goes to show you what he knows about the game.
Correct. And to play one game in this league, like I missed game 6. The Dallas game. Like, I was on the ice with our Southside Athletic kids, so I like we had a development.
Fucking starting already, eh?
Yes,
Southside.
Yeah. So I missed the entire game. Didn't even catch it. We got the update halfway through the skate. We stopped the kids for their drill and told them they're all happy. They're cheering. They're excited.
Right.
These kids just went to practice. We were at the practice that morning. Like, we took another group of kids to the.
Yeah, I saw that.
So, and Alexander Petrovic, stopped and said hi. He was kind of joking, like, "Oh, I played for Dallas, but I didn't play for the Oilers. Oh, I played for the Maple Leaf Athletic Club. This is Southside." Like, he was a good sport about it, right? But Chris Cuffert came by, and Baden Pettinger, Jamie Benn, and Jordy Benn, and Tyson Berry's agent came by and said hi to the kids too. So it was kind of cool. But yeah, I know we're kind of going all over the place. It's just more or less like, they're homers. It's okay. Luke Gazdic didn't swear. I don't think he offended anyone. I think maybe at the end of the day,
he offended people.
Well, he offended the people in Vancouver, and right. I agree. Like, Craig Button said the same thing on terms of, like, when you attack a fan base and you attack an organization, that's a mistake. And I don't know what's going to happen. Like, I haven't heard any discipline or not. Elliot Friedman was very supportive of him. He obviously agreed, like you said.
Yeah, but he's not wrong.
I'm not saying he's like, hey, look, I posted a tweet a day after all this, and he's
not wrong about that fan base.
No, but I got lambasted by the Oiler fan base. I didn't even offend anyone. I was just saying, PK's entitled to his opinion. Luke's entitled to his opinion. I had said nothing about, like, any fan base. I had 20 DMs and messages. I had to delete the tweet because people were taking personal shots at Alexander Petrovic, and nothing was even talked about Alexander Petrovic. It was all Oiler fans. It was just like, so it's just, hey, I'm a Leaf fan. I'm a Leaf fan, and hey, I say what I say. At the end of the day, I don't want Edmonton to win. Like, I'm a Leaf fan. Like, I'm not cheering for the Edmonton Oilers. I am cheering.
Listen, in every fan base, there's meatheads. There's
100%. Just like the guys that stop Connor when he's grabbing a beer. That's
there's 1%. Meatheads. Look what those 3 fucking idiots were doing to Connor.
Yeah. And I
Like,
agree with that, because it's like, and agree that there are idiots, because imagine you or me, or even just say Connor McDavid is just sitting outside of a liquor store, or say these guys are like outside of a grocery store, and this husband and wife walk out of the grocery store with groceries, and he just starts grabbing them, touching them. I want a hug.
sitting on my car.
Yes,
Like, if it
trying to
was
get into
me,
your car, sitting on, like
my wife would
that's
be
the
sitting in the front
definition of
seat. I would have
personal
told,
invasion of your
oh,
space. Like that
fuck
is like,
me.
it drives me nuts.
You have
How
no idea.
yeah.
I would have, yeah, you have
I
no
commend
idea.
him for being the guy to go
I carry an
for
extra
his
stick in the
team.
back because
Yeah.
my kids have 2 sticks each. There would have been a stick in the back, and those guys would have got beat
Yeah.
with a stick.
Yeah.
I would have went, Nicole, go sit in the front seat, lock the doors. I would have closed my trunk.
Yeah.
If they want to take the booze, take the booze, but they aren't getting away without getting hit.
Yeah. I think he
Fucking
kind of handled it
idiots.
best, but it's a little too
Fuck.
crazy for my liking. Like I've seen it. I seen it at West Edmonton Mall, him get bombarded. Like
Listen,
it's
Craig
crazy.
Simpson was on. Me and Nicole flew to Quebec.
Yeah.
And we were flying to Toronto, and we were on the fan flight from Edmonton to Toronto to Dallas, and Craig Simpson's sitting there. I could have fucking went nuts. And when Craig, remember when we were at Barry T's and I high-fived you? You were wearing your jean jacket in 88,
Yeah.
whatever it was.
Yeah.
But no, I leave the fucking guy alone.
Yeah.
100%. You notice him, and you could
acknowledge, you nod, and you do your thing,
or you say hi, Craig, like you would see a buddy. Hey, Connor. Hey, Leon.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah, 100%. Unless they say something to you, like, hey, like after that morning skate before game 6, like I walked side by side with Matt Duchene. Like we were walking side by side, and obviously I know 2 people that know him, and Matt Benning and Alexander Petrovic. So I could easily be like, hey, Matt, I know this guy, I know that guy. I don't. I leave it alone. I don't ask for a picture. I leave it alone. The other day I was walking with the coaching staff from the Stars, and then Pete DeBoer stopped and stuck out his hand and asked my name. So like we were talking about Mike Fuda and Alexander Petrovic. Like, Steve Spott was there too. Aline Nazardim.
Now I say that, I got a story for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, oh God, this must have been 2008, 2009. Me and Nicole have been dating we might have been married. It might even have been, no, it wasn't our, anyway, we're in Vegas and we're walking through the Palms because we knew there was the NHL awards were there. So we're walking through the Palms, and yeah, it was planned. We just wanted to, people watch and see this, and see if we saw any NHL play. By all means, we weren't going to go up. I didn't have any plans to go up. All of a sudden, we see Messier, and my fucking wife, Nicole, runs across the casino floor to the front door. Mark. So of course I got to chase her.
Yeah.
So I'm like, run up. He turns around. First thing he says, he goes, "Oh, you must be from Edmonton."
Yeah.
We're like, yeah. He's like, yeah, because nobody else would recognize him.
Yeah.
So he was crazy. We didn't even get a picture. I don't even think we had phones back then, or you didn't have the US plan that they got now. But anyway, it was, I have done stupid, like I've been around, but I don't know. I mean,
it's tougher now with the social media, because it's like you pull out your phone, doing this and doing that, and like, there's been too many encounters with Connor in this situation, and it's just enough's enough, and and I know it's gonna maybe get worse.
Where was he? Was he at a liquor store?
He was leaving a liquor store in the Glenora area.
Why is your captain buying booze? Why isn't the PR guy getting it?
I don't know. Like I asked Jeff O'Neill. I saw the thing. I gave Jeff O'Neill a call. I said, hey, can you explain this? And then he's like, I'll explain it on my show. And he explained
maybe he wanted to.
Well, maybe. I don't know. Jeff O'Neill just said he explained on his show when he played in the NHL. With the way it worked is whatever trainer he had, he brought up the trainer's name, and he's now since passed. I forgot the guy's name, but the O-Dog talked about pretty much saying, walked up to that guy and said, okay, I'm leaving tonight after the game because they have beer in the locker room. He said, he's like, here's my keys, stuff a cold case in the back of the trunk. And that was it. So I don't know. Obviously everyone's like, it's like tweet, skip the dishes, delivers booze, all this, but they're all going back to Connor's house. He was hosting the party. It is what it is. Like, as
And
as
yeah.
Tom Gazzola said, at least we know he's a good host because he went and got the beer for everyone. But
You know what I did notice? Not a lot of beer, a lot of White Claw.
yes,
Which and
is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't drink, so
I don't know.
yeah.
I'm not a beer drinker anyway.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. And I don't drink at all. But anyways, at the end of the day, it's an unfortunate situation. No one got hurt, so that's a good thing. But there has to be just a little bit more respect the privacy of him. It does not happen. I've seen it countless times. I saw it this year, West Edmonton Mall. The guy put his head down and boom, or his hat down, and he was bombarded. It was just like, it's weird because I remember back in like the Eberle Hall, obviously Nuge is still here era. Daryl Cates had a guy that was with these guys. Now I think that one might have been a little bit different back then, which is, but
well, and even this situation might have been different.
Yeah, maybe
but or was it? And did these guys follow?
That's another thing.
You got to think that, and then that's a fucking issue.
Yeah.
But no, listen, no true hockey fan.
And that's what Stradwick said. No true hockey fan would do that.
No true hockey fan's ever going to do that in any
market.
I mean, look, Whitney was the first. Ryan off of Spin Chicklets was the first to land base the Canucks fan base, but he was also the first to say, "Look, I've had a lot of good people reach out to me because his wife there was an issue with his with his child and the birth and whatnot, and he's had a lot of people reach out. So listen, to me they're all isolated incidents, and certain fans maybe are extreme than others, but at the end of the day, the true hockey fan, they'll debate you and maybe argue with you and get passionate about it, but they're never gonna become word violent or word violent. I think I just created word violent or physically violent towards you. It's just a debate. I mean,
so we'll rest our situation on that. We'll finish up on that. It's unfortunate. And then hopefully going forward, if people see, if you're listening to this, you see, just let them be, let them do their thing. And maybe when you get these autograph sessions that the Oilers do countless
enjoy it
here, then get it at that point. But
don't go giddy and like enjoy it. Go get your autograph and say thank you.
If you do walk by them, just do the head nod, put the hand up, take care,
keep it going, boys. Something like that, right?
Simple, chill, and you move on.
Chill. That's it. Chill.
Just chill
the fuck out, man.
They actually will respect you. They'll actually
before.
Respect you more if you're more chill. To be honest, I'm just saying, like from past experience, they'll actually keep it more chill. I remember, and it's weird saying this because when Ozzy and Luke were playing in the Brick tournament, St. Louis was there, and I saw St. Louis. I was just going like during in between. I was just walking, and I walked by St. Louis twice, and he obviously knew that I recognized him, but I just let him be. And then
they know
100% they know, and it was actually
they know.
It was funny because when I was at the Hlinka Gretzky Cup about a year later or 2 years later, or whatever. I was talking to Craig Button, friend of the pod, and St. Louis came up, and he was just like chill. Like he was there to support his son. He was there with the Canadians brass, but his kid was playing in the Hlinka Gretzky Cup at that time for Team USA. But it was just like, hey, like, like respectful, just let him be. Like, I don't know. I'm not a big picture kind of guy. I was telling this to Phil today. Like, I'm not a big, maybe back in the day it would have been something like that, but I don't know. Like over the years, it's just like, and maybe it's because we've gotten so accustomed to having these guys on our podcast. I'm not saying Connor's been on, but they're just like us. They have the same feelings, the same thoughts, the same, the same respect. They're humble, all that stuff. If you just treat them the way you want to be treated, then your relationship with those guys will go a far way, and be honest. Like, and that's why we've been so grateful to kind of know some of the NHL players that we know, is because we just keep it chill with them, right? So
because they're humble as shit.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
They don't want to be bothered. No. They know they're famous.
Exactly.
That's it. And you don't need to go knobbing on, like
like
Just
Biz says,
leave them
double
alone.
fisted them or whatever, right?
Right. Just
Just
leave them
let it be
alone.
and keep it chill. But we'll get back to the series. I know we rambled on quite long on that
We did,
topic.
yeah. But
Yes,
we tend to do that,
yes, we do. We do.
which isn't a bad thing.
No,
Boss.
that's what we do on this podcast sometimes. Sometimes we go off topic and or go deep into a topic. But this series is gonna be fun. I think it's gonna go 7. It deserves to go 7. These two teams are the best two teams. It's not a Cinderella story coming in. You don't have another team banged up on the other end. They both had 7 to 6 days off between series to get here. You know, they're both goaltenders are really good. The defense is really good. Obviously, there's no Connor and Leon on Florida, but they still have a decent team there. They have a good coach on both ends. Good general managers have done a good job building these teams up. But I'm looking forward to it. This Barkov matchup, I'm looking forward to it too. Maybe this is the platform Barkov needed to get to for his somewhat coming out party. Obviously, I think a lot of people know his name. He won the Selkie this year, but you know, it is going to be fascinating to see a lot of storylines in this situation. Oilers have shown us a lot. What is the biggest thing that you're looking forward to in this series, Fandy?
Is Kane healthy? For me, how banged up is he?
His knee is pretty bad from what I hear, but he's gonna play it through. He's gonna
well, 100%.
You gotta take that leg off for him not to play it.
Right. Short of saying he's
already got the hernia injury on top
of that. Yeah, but he's been playing through that.
Oh,
it's going to be interesting to see. Like I say, I've got in the truck, I've got Sirius XM. I listen to NHL Network. I watch NHL Network. And then you listen to 1440 and what they're saying, Kevin Karius and Gregor and what they're doing, their guests. And I don't know, man. For me, it's a complete coin flip.
The pickup.
It is, well, 100%. I think you got a team in Edmonton where they're coming in confident, and that's a scary thing. When you know,
Oilers need a split though. They need a split, which is very important.
I don't even think they need one. I think they've got enough intestinal fortitude to where
even if they were to fall,
I don't think you can rattle this team anymore.
No,
the amount of shit that they've gone through this year. Florida was expected to get here again, right?
Mm-hmm.
The thing that scares me is, and I go back to the boys on the bus to when they were walking by the New York Island, and I apologize, I hate bringing up the 80s Oilers, but when they walked by the New York Islanders dressing room and they saw the ice packs and the Oilers were ready to go out to the Forum or Coliseum Steak and wherever the hell they were going after the game, and they realized, like, oh my God, we're not even banged up. These guys can't even do interviews or hoist the cup, because that's the only thing that scares me about Florida is they've been there and they want it more. Not that the Oil don't, but that's the only thing that scares me.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, you got a team in Edmonton where they're confident and they're ready to go. Like, we're good. But again, that's why it's a coin flip. Which is going to prevail? Is it going to be the team that is Florida going to be the Knobloch Buffalo of the NHL where they lose 2 in a row? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or is Edmonton going to get it done? So,
man,
what do you think?
I just have I know Knobloch talked about the Buffalo Bills experience the 4 times they've been there and haven't won, but man, it's tough because the James Duthie comment, if Connor and Leon sniff the Stanley Cup, they're gonna win it. It's
proven generational players win.
They do, and
Connor wins.
We've been saying it on this podcast for at least last 2-3 years. But then Florida, you got that on the other end. Like I as a guy that's a Toronto Maple Leafs fan and all that, yeah, I'm not about this like Canada bring the cup home stuff. I don't believe any of that stuff. I think it's all farce. It's all BS. It's this whole state tax thing. I think that's a farce. That's BS too. I don't believe in any of that stuff. Like, at the end of the day, when a team wins the cup comes back to Canada more than it goes to any other place. So it is what it is. It doesn't really play a factor. Florida's been a no state tax team since they got in the NHL. Now, so what? All of a sudden now it's a narrative to them, like, oh look, they're signing guys. No, it's just they took a while to get to a recipe to win. Like, yeah, Tampa Bay's done it for a while, but I don't know. It's tough. Like I just look at it. I've been proven wrong all the time. I did say Oilers Rangers Cup final, so the Oilers got there on the one side, the Rangers didn't. But
you did say that.
Yeah, so at the first episode of the podcast we did before the playoffs started, I said Oilers Rangers Cup final, but I didn't have the Oilers winning it then, and I don't have the Oilers winning it now. And I know that's tough to say. I might get some heat for that. It's just I think it means something to me when you've been there before. You've gone through the rigors. You were hurt, yes. I do think that's a big part of it. And I think starting on the road is possibly not the thing that I would like if I was the Oilers. I would rather their matchup be the opposite. I know maybe you said that they would rather it's good for they start on the road. If I think it's for them, I think they're better to start at home. They've been a great home team. The power play is better at home. But at the end of the day, I don't really think special teams is going to be a factor in this. I don't, because both teams are really good on both ends of it. So I think it should wash itself out. It's 5-on-5. At the end of the day, they got great depth and they got great goaltending, and does the moment get too big for someone on the other end? Florida's been there before, so I don't know if it gets too big for them, but at the end of the day too, or there a lot of
I disagree. I think special teams is going to play a huge factor.
Well, I think
I think they're going to be low scoring games. If Edmonton's PK can continue, and they're not, look, I hate analytics, has a good one too, right? But analytics show that their PK isn't going to go 39, 40, whatever. Let's say they average 5 or 6 more penalties a game, or let's say 3 or 4. But then you get 28 penalty. Analytics show that they're not going to go over.
Yeah.
So if the Oil can get 1 or 2, i.e. Dallas game 6, where they get 1 or 2 power play goals a game and win games 2-1, then that's why this series will go 6 or 7, and then it's a pick 'em. Then
Florida's not lost 3 games yet in any playoff matchup they had. The Oilers have. The Oilers have been on the brink of elimination, have come close, more or less back into the Vancouver series, and that's again what Phil's
right. And Phil's, you know how much that takes, just that within.
And it means something. I definitely agree. But all those other years of like the losing to the Colorados means something. Losing to Vegas means something.
Right.
Like this could be the possible 3rd year in a row where the Oilers lose. Well, if they definitely lose this series, there'll be 3 years in a row they lost to the team that's won the Stanley Cup. But it's. And I didn't want to get in this with Bob because this was the next time we get in with Bob is obviously what's next, contracts. But we're not there. You're focusing on the here and now, and all that. That stuff is done. But obviously the window to win in Edmonton is this year and next year because the contracts change. But we don't need to talk about the contracts right now. That's going to be a big factor. All these guys are going to get paid. They're going to get big bonuses. We'll bring that up. Bob talked about something yesterday on his show that I could have picked that today, but we'll get there at the end. Evan Bouchard's not making it.
Had you done that, I would have told you not to fucking do that.
Exactly. It's a wasted conversation in that. But my point is, Bob said Evan Bouchard makes $8 million the next contract. If he does, he's firing his agent, and that's the worst. That's the bad. Like Evan Bouchard will not make $8 million the next contract. But now I'll just say that because it's not happening. But my point is, this team has everything to win right now. Everything has gone right for the Oilers in the right way. And in terms of like,
but they've earned it.
That's what I mean, though. I'm not saying they haven't. Like their coach has pushed the right buttons because he knows how to push the right buttons. Like he's done this like in junior. He's won in the OHL and he's won in the WHL. And he was a great coach in both those leagues. And he's taken teams with lesser players in. Now he's got the 2 new nuclear weapons in Connor and Leon. So again, like I agree. I know Bob disagreed to say like the Oilers could win this in a short series. They could win in a long series. Like anything could happen. Like these are two great teams. I would love a 7-game series. Like hell yeah. It drags out. It's a whole month of June of playoff hockey. I don't like
That
that.
is what I can't believe. We're fucking.
But
It's gonna go.
ESPN.
Game 7 will end 2 days before Canada Day or a week before Canada Day. Like, what the fuck are we doing?
Well, just imagine those GMs that are gonna have to make deals being drunk. So
like, fuck, man.
They got a draft and they got free agency in 7 days.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, we'll figure that part out as it gets there. But I have
listen,
Florida. I have
it's gonna be
Florida.
fun.
Brody has Oilers in 7. Brody McIntyre, co-host with us. I got Panthers in 7. Where do you have Oilers in 7? I'm assuming.
Yeah, I got Oilers 7.
Yeah.
This team is just.
Like it would be good. It would be cool to see Connor and Leon win, and the whole like. I agree. We posted the picture, the Kobe Cave, the Ben Stelter, Joey Moss,
and we're not talking about Nuge.
Yeah, he gets the cup. He gets the cup first when Connor gets it. Like Connor, and it goes to Nuge. I would say that's kind of how it would go.
Yeah,
and then Leon right after, and then maybe we'll see what happens.
I'm not even thinking about that. But
I was a Jeff Merrick.
Like Nuge, I know. Nuge is not an X factor, but I mean he's got to continue.
He's been unreal in the play.
I know he's got to continue doing what he's doing, and the only thing that worries me is the physicality.
Does they bully you out of the rink? Do they bully you out of the series? Like how bad is Kane? Like could Kane this hurt? Does that take a toll on him? Right. Like we saw what Bennett did to Brad Marchand, gave him a taste of his own medicine.
Look what Bennett did to Panarin, Zibanejad.
Yeah.
And
I know the whole stats of Gustav Forsling and Barkov not allowing a lot of goals against these.
So did you listen to Chicklets latest?
No.
Did you hear the Rangers? There was a rumor the Rangers brought their old ladies, all their wives and girlfriends to Florida.
Did not hear that. No.
So Matt Merles,
because usually they don't do that until it's the final.
So when they went to Florida, they brought their girlfriends.
Ooh.
And they were out on the beach, and they were not a good look. Yeah. And so Matt Merles was like, this is 99% fact. And I'm like, oh my fucking God. If you're doing that and Rangers fans find out.
Yeah, that's a tough look. I'm surprised Chris Drury would allow that to GM. And Peter Laviolette, the head coach. But but at the end of the day, Connor and Leon have Barkov and Forsling have never faced a player like Connor and Leon and all
this
that.
City's gonna blow up.
If they win, yeah.
Here is what I'm worried about. Is
the moment too big for Skinner? But Skinner's proven himself in these last 8 games, though, right?
Which is why I wanted to bring up Mumford. Apparently, he's been around for a while.
The whole year.
I got the sense from Stauffer that he's been around for a bit.
Yeah.
And it just came to light after they won. Had they lost, probably you wouldn't even hear anything of it. So Skinner will be fine. Everybody's right. It's good for the Oilers to start on the road.
The only thing I would say is Stuart Skinner can't have one bad performance.
No.
He can't. They don't have any margin.
He knows that.
He knows it. He does. And he has not since he's got back in the net. There's not been a bad period, a bad 30-minute stretch, or a bad game. Since he's taken over that net, he has done everything he possibly can to own that net. And I agree.
Right.
It'll be fun, right? Well, buckle up, man. It's all happening.
It'll be fun
tomorrow night. As this podcast will come out Friday, and everything will fly out on Saturday night, and it'll be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. At the end of the day, I'm a big hockey guy. Regardless who's in the cup final, I'm watching every minute of it. As long as we're not on the ice for the kids, that's more important now. Vandy, it's so cool to do that, man. Being a coach and being on that.
You're on the ice?
Yeah, it was just
unbelievable.
It was amazing, man. It was just
Have you ever done it?
I was always a director or manager before.
Yeah,
So no,
the
so never
bullshit
really.
side of hockey.
Yeah, I was doing the
Now you're in
drama.
the thick of
Now
it.
I'm in the thick
This
of
is
it.
yeah, buddy. I'm telling you, once you
Cool. Like
get
the
that,
closest
you're
I've
hooked.
ever gone was like the underdog camps that Doug Ockenberg
Yeah,
and Matt Hage runs, but that's the
and if
closest
your
I've had.
skates aren't sharp, you can't even demo the drill.
No, no.
I'm that way.
Yeah, yeah. It was
The drills that they do at underdog
the
are
only good thing I
unbelievable.
have is good stick handling skills. So so Doug threw me at the stick handling because we did skills last session. So I was showing
Awesome.
him how to stick handle. So it was so cool. But man,
So,
it was just like,
are you guys doing ID skates or
yeah. So
like
we have two different groups. So we have the younger group at the first session, and then we have the
right?
kids at the next. But I think we're gonna start blending it because some kids are popping out in either group and stuff like that, and in good ways. Like, it's a lot of positive, but yeah, it was a shorter, lesser turnout. Obviously, you can understand why. Game 6 elimination, conference final,
Yeah,
but
it's fun,
we're
dude.
off. We're off
You
this
get
side.
that
Yeah,
you get that coaching itch. You're
yeah.
hooked
And
for
Matt
life,
Benning's
dude.
gonna come out and skate with them. Alexander Petrovich gonna come out and skate with them. So
So does that mean MLAC doesn't get anything anymore?
uh,
I'm kidding.
I don't
I'll
know. We'll
bring my
see.
own boys
Hey,
up.
if you like I said, you're a part of the MLAC crew, which means you're still a part of the podcast crew, so you'll still get
I get
the
it.
morning
I
skates
get
and
it.
stuff like that. It was cool. Like, hey, I have to give the Oilers a credit again. Andrew Peart at the Oilers entertainment group. Just amazing what he's done with all year. So our morning skates are done. The NHL takes over, so we cannot take anyone to morning skates for the Stanley Cup final. Um, but it was cool to bring our Southside kids. We brought the U18, U17, and U16 group, and then we brought the U15 group out. So and yeah, the Oilers are like, we can't wait to continue this next year, and so it'll be a lot of fun. And
They're lucky to have you and Doug
Doug's a
and
right. So and
yeah,
you're a part of you're gonna be a part of this too next year. Like you're
yeah.
playing
It
MLAC, like,
probably looks like I'll be a part of
like
the
you're
MLAC
gonna
crew.
run all those MLAC kids through that too. MLAC still means a lot to me. Obviously, Johnny Boychuk, Alexander Petrovich, Cam Moon, like, those guys are alumni and all that. But yeah, you know what, man, it's like I'm a little kid again. I have to say, go back to that. Is like, what, my family wasn't very wealthy. So like my ice hockey time was when we were running the outdoor rink in Mill Woods, Julia Kaninsky School. So that's
Right.
where I got my ice hockey dreams and all that, and playing there. So that was the closest I ever got to playing any kind of ice hockey. And then ball hockey was pretty big for me,
Awesome.
where it's team organized. But I'm a
Enjoy it.
kid again, and it's just cool. Like, the kids are just asking you fun questions, good questions. They want to know information. They want to know how the drill is done right, and drill, like, and even coming up with little things, like they're like, hey, like, coach, like, how about we do this? And I'm like, let's do it, man. Like, like little ideas, and it's just cool, man. And I love it after every single session we do.
Wait till you are on the bench and they ask you the same question and the game's heated
Yeah.
and you're like, fucking don't talk to me right now.
But I'm supposed to be that, like, calmer,
I know you
better.
are.
So
I know you are.
because, like, Doug will be the head
Right.
coach, and then
Even
his
but
son
even
Dave.
Doug's like that.
He is. So yeah, I want to be the fun.
Imagine me and Rupp on a
Oh
bench.
man.
Or like
Well, at our skate the other day, we were actually talking. We were talking about you guys. Our first skate we ever had this summer, which was 3 weekends ago. Um, there's some older alumni guys that are part of. I think Rob's his name. He's an older guy. He's with the Junior Oilers, and then Will. He's
Will Jang.
yeah. So they were talking about you guys. Yeah. So we're
Yeah.
they were. I was just sitting there talking, like, we're talking, and they brought up your name, and I turned over. I'm like, those are my co-hosts on the podcast. They're like, small
Yeah.
world. And they talked
We're
about you
good.
guys coaching, and they were just like, and they
Good
talked about the
people.
way you and
Good
Rupper
people.
worked off each other and how well it was, right? So
Yeah, we had a good crew. We had a good crew.
yeah,
Luka Wesky, Fish, my brother.
yeah.
My brother was he was the only one out of all of them.
Darce is
Luka
pretty, like,
Wesky,
yeah,
Darce and Luka Wesky, Andrew Luka Wesky
yeah.
were the only two guys that could like bring me down and be like, calm the fuck down, Clay. What the fuck?
But they're the
Like,
calm, influencing kind of people in life,
right.
anyways, too, right? So
Luke made the
It might-
call of the century when, that was Luke, where we anyway, I won't get onto it
Yeah.
here, but
Another
yeah,
episode. Yeah.
it's fun, dude. You get that itch and it doesn't go away.
No, and that was like it. Like I asked Doug, I was like, because we're breaking it up. Obviously, there's a lot of our coaches, so it's like
Right.
can't get every coach on. So this was my turn to get on, and it was just like both sessions. The kids were just good, very respectful, very nice, good demeanors. Like
They're hockey players,
they
man.
are,
They
they're
are.
just asking really good questions, and yeah, I don't know, man.
And it's tryouts.
Yeah, and it's tryouts too, and
That
obviously,
same kid might be an asshole halfway through the year.
yeah, he might be, but yeah, I definitely needed it for my mental health to get out
Good
there
for
and
you.
just do that.
Good for you,
And,
buddy.
give back to the game. It's and that's what we said to these kids. We're like, look, it's a big important game in our city tonight, the Oilers, but we're here giving you guys our time, so let's give your time. And it was really good back. And
I know the fucking boys got lacrosse, 7 p.m.
yeah.
Saturday. I'm like,
Oh
are
no.
you kidding me?
So I wonder if you'll run into to Corey Perry at all. I know your kids aren't the same age as his son Griffin, but Corey Perry just signed his kid up for lacrosse here in Edmonton. So I think that's pretty cool.
He will be, my guess is he's probably on the White Mud. He'll be like a Blues. I think it's Blues. I don't know shit about lacrosse.
No, it's cool though, because my buddy Matt Fossey, his son plays on the same team as Griffin Perry, Corey Perry's son. So
That's awesome.
So yeah, Corey Perry was out there for the practice they had the other day or the game. So, but yeah,
wicked.
Yeah, it was pretty very nice guy too. It was just I don't know, man. I love hockey guys, man. Hockey players are so respectful and so good, and
The best in the world, dude.
yeah,
and they're the best athletes.
They are, and I know people want to rip on our buddy Milan Lucic if they want, but beautiful conversation with Luch last night, and just I don't know, he's a friend of our pod, yeah. So Luch is, just reached out and heard that I was going through some struggles, and
he reached out.
He reached out, man, last night.
Awesome.
Yeah, 10:30 at night. I got a nice text message from him, and just the love you.
Look what Brian Myers is doing on his.
I've seen that. We got to get him on. I have him on Facebook. I should reach out to him, get him on. I know Bob told me several times to get him.
I've listened to it, dude. It is like, what's the word? It's not deep, but like when he was talking about the Nikushkin thing.
Valerie Nikushkin.
Yeah, it was like, wow, okay.
Cool. Yeah, maybe I'll reach out to Myers tomorrow.
Get him on,
see if we'll get him on for during the playoffs here. But I don't man, life it throws you a lot of different curveballs at times, and at the end of the day, we're all just human beings, and we're just all trying to put one foot.
You're not even married, don't have kids yet.
I know.
Wait till that fucking.
Yeah, exactly. So if it ever happens, I don't know if it will.
Whatever.
But
it doesn't.
It's
when you get older, it gets
it's awesome. So we appreciate you guys a lot. Subscribe, like to us. Thank you so much. We always get a lot of plays on our Stauffer episodes. So I know our buddy Will McNeil will love this too. He's always commenting. So
I know.
He's a beaut in that aspect. And obviously Dustin Canal, the man around the city that's making every grass look nicer. So great golfer too. So great people there. But Vandy, take care. Love you, buddy. It's gonna be a fun Stanley Cup. We'll do another one here very soon.
All right, dude.